Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello and welcome to the show. This is your host, Neil Howe, but today we have a very special guest host. Her name is Shireen Richter, all the way from South Africa. Shireen is a laughter professor in South Africa, and she is putting together a book called Expert Mavericks, and she's interviewing some high-profile people from South Africa who have a lot to share in regards to what it is to be successful and what you need to do to have success and happiness in your life. So really looking forward to hearing those South African accents and hearing from all these guest experts that she is going to interview. So take it away, Shireen.
Hi, I'm Shireen Richter, Laughter and Happiness Professor. Today I'm interviewing Shaheed Joosub, one of the mavericks for our book, Expert Mavericks. Shaheed is the CEO of Swat Special Ops. He has developed a reputation as the 007 in crime-fighting security industry. Shaheed has not only been a maverick in his business, but also does maverick work with the community. It's an honor and privilege to have a 007 sitting in front of me. Welcome, Shaheed.
Thank you, Shireen.
Shaheed, what does the term expert maverick mean to you?
An expert maverick to me means someone who stands out, someone who thinks out of the box, someone who inspires others, an independent individual who makes his own rules and optimizes his talents to reach his goals. Somebody that has the ability to see what others miss.
And you've really done that in every part of your life, from when you were growing up as a child to your current business to helping communities. So tell me, what is a 007? Can you tell us what you do and also tell us what molded you to become the maverick you are today in so many areas?
Well, my nickname is 007 in the crime fighting industry, and I am the CEO for SWAT Special Ops. It's a South African-based company that deals with VIP protection and commercial security. I'm personally also a crime fighter who assists law enforcement in bringing criminals to book. I think what molded me into a maverick was the fact that I witnessed so many people succumb to crime, and when I personally became a victim, I decided to do something about it. I needed to make a difference, and I needed something new to be my inspiration.
And that really is powerful, because you're helping people where people are helpless. When people are victims of crime, they do feel helpless. And there's so much crime abound in South Africa today. You started your career as a maverick as a young boy. You told me your story. You were always selling things and looking to create a business. So being a maverick was in you. It was part of who you are.
Definitely.
Can you take us back to your childhood and tell me, what was the first thing you did? Where did you start your career, and what was the driving force behind it all?
Well, Shireen, I worked for a construction company before I got married, and when I got married in 1989, I decided that I wanted to do something different, something that I could be passionate about. So I decided to leave my job, and I decided that I was going to try my luck in being a salesman. I believed that I could have been the world's greatest salesman, So I got into the electronics industry, and things just got better. And obviously I saw a lot of success in the business, and this was in the first 3 years after I got married.
So you've had a natural ability and talent at selling things. Who was the person who motivated you most to do this?
I think I would say the person that motivated me most was definitely my mom. She has always been the driving force behind the man I am today. She supported me through every darkness, and in seeing her rise through every test with such fired-up strength, I've always taken energy and inspiration from her. She's just such a remarkable and optimistic individual.
And you said you learned a lot from her struggle. You didn't have it so easy growing up. Do you want to talk about your struggle? It's through using other people's struggles and seeing their success that other people are able to use that when they're going through difficult times, and they're able to use those spurts of inspiration and your lessons to help them through that. Tell us what some of these struggles were and how they molded you. You learned from your mom and her struggles. What were those?
Well, my mom was a single mother, and at the time she had to bring up 5 kids. It was obviously very, very difficult, and she was working and we were all at school, so we stayed at my granny's place. And, we went through a lot of hard times. We would come home and take turns cooking for each other, cleaning the house. We were all supportive. I mean, from a young age, we were basically thrown into the deep end. We worked on weekends. We were 3 brothers, so we are 3 brothers. So what we did is we worked on weekends, and we would sell jewelry in the locations at the time, and all that money would go into my mom's hands. My advice is, that you just don't ever give up. You always say to yourself that you want better. You want to be in a better place. You see people that live in big houses, sports cars parked in the driveways, and you want to be that person. So I've always liked nice things, and I must admit, from the time I was a kid, I always said to myself, I'm going to have that nice house. I'm going to have that nice car. And everything in life is what you make of it, and what inspiration you take. And obviously, most importantly, your determination.
And being determined is really a huge part of being successful. And when we struggle, it's often hard. You said you visualized, you always wanted more, the nice car, the nice clothes. Tell us about your visions. When you visualize things, is that how an idea starts? Is that how 007 and Swat came about?
Well, look, the story where Swat came about is very different. But, going back, obviously, I mean, like I say, I always liked nice things. I admired beautiful things, and I wanted it all. And I said to myself that I am going to have it all. I was just that kid that knew I was going places, and that everything was up to me. Swat actually started very differently. A friend of mine's family got robbed. And his dad was beaten up very badly and tortured at the time. And, I grew up knowing this old man, having visited him as a kid. And I sat and I looked into these teary eyes, and it was then that I decided that, I would help this man bring these criminals to justice. I had experience in the cellular industry, and I worked very closely with the detective in charge of the case at the time. And I had introduced him to tracking cellular data and things like that. And we managed to actually, between the two of us, we managed to track down these criminals. And in one night, 6 people were arrested. Subsequently, we obviously brought them to book. 3 of these criminals were sentenced to over 10 years imprisonment. I went to the old man and I said to him, you can now, sleep peacefully and not worry that they're going to come back.
And that was the start.
And that was the start. That is when, well, that's not exact. That's the start of my crime fighting career.
Right.
Obviously, I needed to have the necessary funds and to be completely prepared. I only officially opened SWAT Special Ops. I had a partner in SWAT Protection. We split, and then I rebranded and I became SWAT Special Ops. So I would say for the last 2 years, I'm officially the CEO of crime fighting companies. And yes, that's my story.
But it actually goes much further than that, because your story is that you really are a maverick. You don't only do crime fighting and you don't only do VIP protection, but you also work with kidnapping cases and missing people. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, I've been called in several times. I belong to a group called the CCIN, which basically is it's a civilian crime intelligence network, and I really admire the members on this group, because every day of their lives is spent fighting crime. I assist them wherever I can. And, at times I'm called in with certain missing person cases and kidnappings. And, over the years, I've come to be quite an expert in that field. So, I'm quite honored to say that in all the cases that I have worked with, we've had fantastic results. To date, the cases that I've worked with, we haven't had any cases where people have ended up dead or haven't been returned to their families. So, keeping my fingers crossed, to now it's gone very well. And I'm actually proud of what I do. And I'm very proud of being part of this group, because everything we do pro bono, and everyone is there to help and assist and to try and make South Africa a safer environment.
And do you ever get nervous? Do you ever get scared being out there in the field? There are some hardened criminals that are out there. Do you ever get nervous?
Well, Shireen, I must tell you, yes, I do, because I think I've just got a nose for trouble. The reality of the situation is I've put myself in dangerous situations more often than not. And yes, very dangerous situations where I've just seen something that doesn't look right, and I've decided to throw myself into it. I'd follow a car of criminals, and while I'm following them, I'll phone the police for backup. And I've done a lot of dangerous things, but I'm fortunate that I'm still alive and I'm still walking.
Absolutely. And what do you tell yourself when you're where does the adrenaline just kick in and you don't really have rational thought at that point?
Honestly, that's exactly what happens. To be honest with you, I do these irrational things because I'm absolutely fearless. As long as I see something in front of me, I feel that I'm prepared for it. But it is dangerous, and sometimes you're outnumbered, and the rational thing to do is to call backup and not put your life at risk. But I've done some crazy things, and with trial and error, I'm obviously taking a little bit of a backseat. I've got people that can do the work for me, so I'm putting them in the front line now.
So on the one hand, you're 007, and on the other hand, your success has allowed you to make massive impact on the community. You're in Ramadan at the moment, and you have an incredible initiative that you and some of your community members have put together, which is incredibly maverick. I've never heard of something of this scale being done. Will you share that with us?
Yeah, about 15 years ago, roughly about 15 years ago, I decided that I'm tired of writing the check. People would phone and say they need money for this charity and that charity. And, you write the check and you give money towards the charities, but you don't take value out of it. And 15 years ago, I decided that I'm going to go to Cape Town. My sister lived there, and she mentioned to me that there were a few cases that needed help, and that there was a lot of poverty in the Western Cape. So I went down, and I started doing my charity in Cape Town, the big portion of my charity anyway. I saw a need for it, and over the 15 years, it has grown into such a monster that we now, last year, we fed over 2,000 families during our fasting month, and we took over 1,000 orphan and destitute kids shopping to Ackermans for clothing and necessities. So it's just such a feel-good experience, because you look into people's eyes, you help people, you feel like you've done something beautiful, you feel like you're changing the world to an extent, and just to see these kids smile and run around so excited in Ackermans, it's just so beautiful. And even with the families that we feed, I have. Last year, I met an old lady of, I think, 95 years old, and I go every year. So what I do is I send people of the group in to carry the hampers themselves. We've got CEOs of big companies. My brother Shamil, who's the CEO of Vodacom, he himself comes on this initiative with us, and he carries boxes into the homes, and it's just such a humbling experience for the group. And this 90 something year old lady, I was sitting in the car, and one of the guys came back outside, and she said she's asking for Shaheed, so she remembered me, So it was so flattering. And when I went into the house, she said, "Sit down, my boy." And she says, "I just want you to know that every day of my life, I mention your name in my prayers."
Incredible.
And there's just nothing to replace that feeling.
There's no money, no accolades that can replace a feeling of giving like that. And you actually glow when you speak about it.
Definitely.
Your heart and your face completely light up. I think what's so powerful is that you don't just write the check, that you actually go into their homes and communicate with these people and connect with these people so they see a real person at the other end of their food parcel.
Yes, and the reality is, it's grown into, like I said, it's grown into such a monster now, where I started this as one person, and then I brought my best friend on board. And now when we travel in two teams. We must be a group of about 40 people that go and do this initiative every year. And it's just something that is, it's just phenomenal that so many people want to help. We've got people in Cape Town that take off work and come and assist us. We've got people that give us trucks that don't charge for the trucks. We've got Dollar Thrifty that sponsors all the vehicles for the orphan run that we do. So it's just amazing how everybody just comes together, And when we do the shopping for the orphans, people just walking past suddenly stop and, "Please, can we be a part of this? Please take some money from us." It's just something that I think it's just so heartwarming.
I think it's so necessary in the work that you do to have these two opposites, because you really get to see the dark side, and this brings the light, the love, the hope that we can change the world. And in all aspects, you are changing the world. You're making it safer, and you're helping so many people. When did you realize that you could impact and influence people on this level?
I think I've always been somebody that has taken control of a situation. If there's a crime that has taken place and I visit a friend's house and if it's a friend that has been involved, it's strange that I just suddenly give advice and all of a sudden I become the shoulder to lean on and people just warm up to me. So I've always had a pleasant way of dealing with people and a confident way of dealing with people. So I think that's always worked in my favor. And I just, there has to be a balance in your life. There's got to be a time to play, a time to pray, a time to work. So I think I've got that balance.
I think that's so important. So many mavericks and people that are living life really don't have a balance. And when you don't have a balance and work is too important, or religion is too important, or free time is too important, we don't really become too successful in any. We need that balance within us. But on the way, I'm sure that there were many stumbling blocks and there were risks and rewards. What would you say was your biggest stumbling block that now looking back helped you to be a success? I cannot really think of a single major stumbling block, but I can honestly say that in my line of work, one endures many tests and hurdles. There are days where I feel very challenged and troubled with the problems that one encounters in the service industry, but my motto is to always find resolve and move forward. And, by moving forward and not looking back, I think I've always seen the brighter side of things. Did you ever reach a crossroads? So was there ever a point where you could have chosen a different path but chose the path you did? Was there ever a time when you could have made a different decision in your life and didn't? Do you have any regrets for choosing the path that you chose?
No, I definitely don't have any regrets. I've always been a person that believes in destiny, and I must say that everything that has happened in my life, I've looked at it as something that has been meant to happen. So, I've just taken each day as it came, and I've taken inspiration from my experiences in life and where the directions in which they pushed me. And I just when I started doing crime fighting, I always, as a kid, I used to watch all the detective series on TV. I used to watch everything crime related, and it always intrigued me. And I think what really, when I managed to get into the industry, when I got into this industry, there was just such a good feeling. I just knew that this was my calling, that this was something I was destined to do for the rest of my life. It made me tick. It made me want to get up every morning. It just excited me.
That's powerful, finding your passion. So many people never really find their passion or their purpose in life. Do you think finding your passion makes you better at what you do?
Absolutely. A lot of people go to work every day not enjoying what they do, looking at the clock. I maintain one thing: you have to love what you do. You've got to be passionate about what you do. If you ever want to be a maverick, then you've got to have, you've got to see the best within yourself.
So is that what you use to help you get through times where it is difficult? What do you use when you're trying to succeed?
Well, look, the tools that I use is I just say to myself that there will be obstacles in my path. How am I going to address the problem? You're never not going to have problems. You are always going to be faced with problems, but I maintain one thing: it's how you deal with it, And you've got to look at everything that happens in your life and say to yourself that I'm going to find resolve. Don't let today's problems become tomorrow's problems. Put it in the past.
And it's about having a positive attitude, choosing in a positive manner.
Absolutely. I'm always optimistic. Through the worst of times, even when I get depressed, I always look ahead. I say to myself that today will pass, tomorrow's a new day. And I just come up each day fighting.
That's a wonderful outlook to have in life. So I'm guessing my next question of who could you be if you would be anyone else? James Bond.
Definitely James Bond. I love the life of a secret agent, and it has great perks.
Do you get all the fancy cars and pens and...
Definitely. I'm definitely a gadget man.
Can you give us 5 mantras that you believe people should live by, or 5 value systems that you have lived your life with that you believe contribute towards your success?
Well, look, I believe that you must never bite more than you can chew. In short, only take things that you can manage. Believe in yourself and challenge your fears. Don't procrastinate. If you need to do something important, then there is no better time than now.
And procrastinating, I think, is what so many people do that stops us from being successful, right?
Definitely. If you put off for tomorrow what you can do today, you're just not going to get around to doing it. Also, do not look at the palaces above you, but rather the huts below you, and you will always feel grateful. If you commit to something, give it focus and give it your all. You achieve what you perceive only through effort.
That's beautiful, because perception has a lot to do with it, and often we don't perceive what we've done as success. Others may see what we've done as success, but we are always looking at the next big thing or the next goal or the next person, and we don't perceive our own success.
Definitely. You got to have goals, and you got to set standards for yourself. And, you've got to be passionate about it. You've got to say to yourself that I'm not going to put it off. I'm going to take a step towards it every day.
Taking a step every day. That's taking action and taking a step are the 2 things that hold us back. And I think that you embody that, taking steps from your charity to your business. What is the most exciting thing you've ever done?
Well, I think the most exciting thing that I've ever done is helping with missing persons cases. I've done a few cases, and it really is an adrenaline rush. Minute-to-minute excitement, working with professionals and learning from each other in real time.
Can you take us into one of your stories? You don't have to share names, but take us into a story. How do you work? How does this whole thing happen? How do they bring you in?
Well, I belong to the CCIN group, like I said, and we've got a separate group for missing persons. So whenever we have missing persons cases, they consult with me. And we've just had fantastic results. It seems like, I just seem to have an eye for things that other people don't see. I mean, we have a lot of cases, when it comes to missing persons, we have a lot of cases that are really just false alarms. It's just naughty kids running away from home, having fights with their parents, what I call girlfriend-boyfriend syndrome, girls running away with their boyfriends. But there are certain cases which are quite serious. Like recently we had a kidnapping case in Petersburg, where a young girl was kidnapped, and they basically kept her for 3 days. Fortunately, they didn't harm her. They were looking at ransom. And, I assisted with this case, and in the end, we got her back. The important thing was that we got her back, and it was just such a good, it was just such a feel-good feeling, in the sense that, I got acknowledgement for the assistance I gave in this case, and we had some really top professionals dealing with the case. So I think, when you get that success out of it, it just gives you reason to want to wake up another day and say, this is what I was cut out for. This is what I'm meant to do. And I'm helping make a difference in the world. There's definitely some legacy I'm leaving behind.
Definitely, and a legacy that people could most definitely learn from. What would you say are your greatest risks? I mean, this must be quite a risk, getting involved in a kidnapping case, dealing with criminals. You're putting your life at risk, but there, as we mentioned, there's the rewards which you're feeling, you're really giving back. But what other risks? There's risk to your life. Do your family worry about you? Do your family get nervous? Do your family know what you're doing, or do you not tell them?
Look, my family, obviously, I mean, they know when I'm in a dangerous situation. I keep them posted, in the sense that if I'm doing any cases, I just feel that my family must know I'm out there, I'm coming home late. I don't want them to worry unnecessarily, but obviously with family, you will have that. I mean, the business that I'm in is a very dangerous business. From day to day, things happen in real time. So when they happen, you got to make judgment calls. I mean, your life is in danger all the time. It's not a business that I cannot tell you that your life is that you're in the comfort zone all the time. My mom worries about me all the time, In fact, she still treats me like a little kid. When I visit her at night, she'll say to me, "Please, my son, when you get home, will you give me a missed call, just so I know you're in the house?" So yes, they do worry, but it's a dangerous business, but you have to know what the risks are when you take up certain professions. The ends have got to justify the means. And I'm enjoying what I do. So I know that there's going to be risks in what I do, but I try to obviously do it where I put at as little risk to my life as possible.
And I'm sure having a family and that responsibility makes you that much more cautious. You have to just be that little bit more careful at times. And we all learn from our families. Our families teach us, in fact, our children teach us our greatest lessons. What would you say your children have taught you about being in this industry and how you are?
Well, my children are all quite sheltered. I've got 3 beautiful daughters. My eldest is an interior architect, and my middle daughter is basically, she's becoming a lawyer. Basically what I learned from them is just life's lessons, just that, Dad, you got to come home to us every day. You're responsible for us. We don't want something to happen to you out there. Please take care of yourself when you go to work every day. We know this is a dangerous profession. Be in touch with us. We love you. So it's the fact that my children are so protective over me and I'm so protective over them, it's a great feeling that there's so much love between us.
So when they go on a date, you have the shotgun at the door.
Shotgun and shovel.
Must
Just
be
in
pretty.
case.
I could imagine that.
I must admit.
And do you send a car following them too?
No. I'm not that bad, but I must admit, being in the security industry, you know, all the young boys know I'm in the security industry, so they're a little bit scared to knock on my door.
Do they have to have a full checkup before they're allowed to go out with your daughters?
No, I think I leave that to my daughters. They can make good judgment calls. So I'm pretty, you know, I'm a little bit strict with them, but at the same time I give them the leverage where they need it.
Brilliant. And that would make them into their own mavericks, giving them the little bit of space to grow and to breathe.
Yes.
In a world that is filled with so much fear and negativity, there's loads of negative sentiment. Why do you think it's important for people to be innovative and learn to think out of the box, to do things differently, to do community work? Why do you think that's so important?
Well, you cannot discover new horizons if you are not willing to explore. If you don't challenge your fears, the only one who suffers is you. Success comes quicker to those who take chances. So, you know, I just feel that if you're going to become, or if you want to become successful, you've got to think out of the box. You've got to always look ahead, and you've got to say to yourself, I want more. I want more for myself. I want more for my family. I want to give more. And that's how I feel.
And I think that really is critical in a world, is to have that drive, to want more, to have the goals, as you mentioned, to visualize, to see things in a different way. So I'm going to reveal another side of you, which you shared with me, is that you write beautiful poetry. What is your inspiration for writing? Is it an outlet? Is it an expression of heart? Not many people are as talented and gifted, and I've read some of your beautiful poems. What inspires you to write?
Love. Love and only love. You know, just love for the world, love for your family, love for everything. You know, I take my life's experiences and I draw inspiration from my life's experiences, you know. I wake up on a day and I say to myself, you know, I've had such a beautiful experience yesterday or whatever it is, and this is something I need to put onto paper in a way that one day I can turn back and look at it and remember it, you know. So I write poetry. I have very inspirational moments where I write poetry, but it's not something that you do all the time. You have moments where you feel you're inspired.
And do you feel that when you write, it's an outlet for a rough day? Would you encourage others to journal, to write, to try their hand at poetry? Has it helped you in your life through difficulties?
It's absolutely beautiful. It's a kind of a hobby. It's just a switch off from the rest of the things that I do. And, you know, I take solace in writing poetry. It's just something that gives me peace. And you have to, you know, you like I say, you have to have a balance in what you do in life, and you have to be passionate about what you do, and at the same time you have to have hobbies.
And hobbies are really important. So if you were saying, you were offering some suggestions of what to do to cope with stress, to find that balance, spending time with your family, I know, is really important to you. Your passion is your work, your poetry. What else would you say to people they should do in order to find that balance?
You got to take time out. You got to take time out from your everyday life. You know, go away for a weekend. You know, go on a safari. Book into a hotel. You know, you've got to take breaks where you go with your entire family, and you've got to take breaks where you just go with your spouse. It kind of re-energizes you. You need to do this from time to time. I find it so important because I analyze myself personally, and it's definitely something that recharges my batteries.
and we all need recharging every single day. Just to end, is there anything you'd like to add or share your thoughts of how people are thinking of going into your industry, want to be an expert, want to be a maverick? Any thoughts on what they should do, what they should take with them?
Just that every individual must pave the path of their own destiny. A journey is not memorable if you sleep through the scenery.
That's so beautiful, beautifully worded.
Everything in life is how you choose to see through the windows of your eyes.
So, everything is perception, and it's how we see it through our own eyes. If someone wanted to get into your industry, and what would they do? Through your eyes, what would you advise them to do?
Security is a service industry, and the reality is that the most important thing to consider when pursuing this business, is that you will never have a 100% success rate. Prepare yourself for failure along the way, but always keep in mind that this business is all about resolve, finding immediate solutions, and always putting your client first. Presentation is everything, so make sure you are ready to go head on. A first impression is a lasting impression, so make it count.
And I think that's relevant in any industry. First impressions are lasting. If you want to be recognized as a true maverick, we have to put our best selves forward all the time.
Definitely, absolutely. It's important to always be professional and to never let egos or emotions cloud your vision. The short track is that you need to deal with everything with utmost confidence, as that is what your clients seek. You have to be willing to lose a little to gain a lot. The road to becoming an expert is that you always be hands-on. When it comes to giving your clients peace of mind, let them know that you pride yourself on what you do.
That's a wonderful philosophy to run a business on, being hands-on and never having a 100% success rate. And I think that applies with everything in our lives. We often are hard on ourselves when everything isn't exactly as we want it, when we are not 100% successful. But success is still achieved, even though it may not be exactly as we wanted. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I love what I do. So I plan on making, my business bigger and bolder. I have dreams of where I want to go, and I move towards those dreams every day. I say to myself that wake up every day, challenge yourself every day. Say to yourself that enough is not enough. You want more all the time. And if you have that attitude and you go out there, you're a go-getter, you're definitely going to achieve your dreams.
Shaheed, thank you so much. To end, can you just share with us, what do you hold in your heart? What is the message to the world? What do you stand for? What do you live by? Share with us some of your heart.
Well, Shireen, I feel that everything in life you got to do with a fighting spirit, because a fighting spirit is better than no spirit. My heartfelt message to the world would be that very few things happen by chance. You have to take your own chances and determine your own results. Live by intent and persevere. It is not what life deals you, but how you deal with your life that counts. People who live in fear and anxiety are victims of their own negativity. Leave a mark in people's hearts and be remembered not for what you own, but for what you give. Write the chapters of your own story and let every page be worth turning. Most importantly, do what you love and love what you do.
Such profound words of wisdom. Thank you so much for that beautiful insight. Those are definitely things I'm going to be taking into my own life. In fact, I would like that up on my wall somewhere. So thank you so much, Shaheed. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being a maverick. Thank you for sharing so others can learn and grow from your story. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, Shireen.
And there you have it. What an excellent interview. Thank you to our guest interviewer, Shaheed Richter. She's interviewing people for her book, Expert Mavericks, which is going to be released later this year. We're looking forward to more interviews from Shaheed, but until then, like and share, and we'll see you next time on the show.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.